through this tonight without being coughing in. Oh, fisherman's friend has just arrived. Okay, we're live. Thank you. Again, I was just saying I've got a bit of a cold, so hopefully we get through this okay. All right. All right, members of council, we're prepared to begin our meeting. Okay. All right. So we'll get started and I'll just welcome everyone to our Clearview Township Council meeting, which is a regular council meeting on Monday, April the 3rd, 2023. It is just after 5:30 p.m. The council chamber is yet again full of residents and visitors who are here to join us at the meetings. We welcome that. And we also welcome members of our staff that are here in the meeting, as well as those that are joining us virtually by Zoom. I'm unsure as to how many, but I do know there's a few people that are joining us by Zoom. So that's great to have our staff available if they need to be asked any questions. Also before we begin the meeting, I would like everyone to acknowledge that we have our clerk returning. Sasha Helmke has returned to the council desk after being off to have her beautiful baby. And so we're welcome her back. And I'm sure she's had a busy day today. Not nearly as busy as being a mom. So good for you. Welcome back. It's great to have you here. And yes, we will find her little name badge that was once here. It's not here today, so we'll find it for her. So thank you, Sasha, for being here with us today. All right, members of council, I'll begin the meeting with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the Métis, or First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Tiatanati, the Wendat, and is the home of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as part of an intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask for guidance in all that we do. And as always, it's my pleasure and honor to be able to speak that voluntarily as the mayor of the Township of Clearview. Council, we're going to move right to our agenda. Item number 1 is our closed session. Council did not meet in closed session today, so we are beginning directly at 5:30 on the agenda. Item number 2, approval. Be it resolved that the agenda dated April 3rd, 2023 be approved as presented. Mr. Walker, Mr. Beelan, mover and seconder. Thank you. Any questions on the agenda, members of council? All right. Just want to note there was something was removed off our agenda, and that was participation from my friend's house. We're unable to be here tonight as they're dealing with something. So those that are wondering, they're not attending tonight. All right. Seeing nothing further, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. All right, council, moving on to disclosure, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Has anybody got any disclosures as we carry on? If anything comes up during the, oh, yes, sorry, Mr. Broderick, I didn't see you there. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe there's a discussion on the Shrine Club tonight and the Happy Days.
I'm not sure if that's on the agenda tonight or not, but I do know what you're talking about. There's a Happy Day. Yeah, McDonald's Happy Days event. Yes.
If that is on the agenda, I will. No. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you anyway. And good luck with that event and the Shrine Club. Thank you, sir. Okay. We acknowledge that. And so if there's anything further, members, we'll bring it up and we'll deal with it right away. All right, council. We're going to move to public participation period. Item number 4. We do have members of the public in our audience. I see people even have paper ready to come up and it looks like they want to speak to us. So that's excellent. So I'll read this little bit of script and then we'll move through that. Be advised that comments and views expressed under public participation period are not the views of Clearview Township Council or the administration. Public participation is limited to 15 minutes. Each person is limited to 5 minutes. Questions or comments are to be directed to the mayor, and questions shall not refer to personnel matters, litigation or potential litigation, or planning matters that have already had a public meeting or any item considered confidential. And please remember to share the time with your fellow citizens. And again, I'll acknowledge that while the procedure does say 15 minutes as the mayor, it's always been my practice to allow people to speak as long as we need to. And if we need to cut it off, we'll cut it off. But I'm not timing it, but we'll just get things started here. All right. The microphone is open. We're going to be using the podium tonight because there's a little camera on it. And I believe Sarah set it up. So who would like to come forward and speak? Jerry, come right up. Come over to the podium, state your name and perhaps your address so the clerk has an opportunity to record it.
Okay, good. My name is Jerry Librick and I live at 6 Blackburn Avenue in Nottawa. I just came back from a vacation and my neighbor Craig Houghton told me that there's going to be a ice rink pad built right next to his house, just below his bedroom window. And he approached the council here, I think the last meeting, and presented a petition that I believe stated that we did not want the ice rink constructed on that park in that location. And he mentioned to me that in the last 15 years, people have been wanting it there. Well, I moved there in 2010, and I've been there for 13 years. No one mentioned to me at all, boy, I wish we had an ice rink and a basketball court. It was news to me. So that's the first item that I want to talk about, is that that's the first I heard of it. Now, we in discussion with the neighbors, the main issue is parking, safety, and security. We don't have sidewalks on our street. We just have a road that two cars can pass each other. If one person parks their vehicle and two cars happen to pass each other, one has to stop and let the other go by. If there's elderly people walking with their wives and husbands, or with their grandkids, or people walking with their dogs, it creates a problem if there's more than maybe 2, 3, 4 cars, 5 cars. But I'm expecting that if it does get built, it's going to be used by an awful lot of people that probably are not living in the area. They're probably coming in from other areas because they don't have to drive to Stainer to do their ice skating. So that the one thing that I'm talking about is the safety, security. And then I want to talk about the garbage trucks and the snowplow people. Wintertime, the snow plows come in. I know they come in the morning, and the garbage trucks comes in around 9 o'clock. But sometimes the snow plow does come in the afternoon, salting. So if we have a lot of cars parked along the street, it's going to be a problem for the snow plow people. I live in a cul-de-sac. The houses in our area have been selling to younger families, and I mean like 4 or 5-year-old children. In my cul-de-sac, I have 5 young children, and when I back out, I back out very, very slowly, and I'm looking all the time for young children playing. So if you're going to have cars parked in the cul-de-sac along the street, it's going to be a parking problem, safety and security issue. Also, I finally saw a no exit sign. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies, for putting up a no exit sign on our street, because people come in and they go around the cul-de-sac. They think they're going to go onto the highway. They zoom around and create a little bit of confusion. So basically, that is my presentation. I'm all for ice skating and basketball courts, but not in this area because it's just wasn't built for it. It was a residential park for walking, the kids playing. And thank you, Mr. Measures, for letting me know that the swings are coming back, because I have another little granddaughter was born we're celebrating her birthday coming up in April. She'll be 1 year old. So I'm going to put her in that swing and give her a underdog. So also, I just want to mention as well, I phoned the Clearview Township office. I had one call, didn't answer. second person didn't answer, third person didn't answer, fourth person didn't answer. And I said to my wife, I says, Heather, I don't know what's going on. They must be on a coffee break. So I decided to phone Doug Measures, and I wasn't expecting him to answer the phone, but guess what? He actually did answer the phone and gave me the information that I wanted.
I have it right here. I answer it right there.
Thank you very much. And it was a simple question. I just want to know what's the protocol to make a presentation. And I think that should not have come from Doug Measures, our mayor. It should have come from Phyllis Deneen. I left you a message as well, and a few other people. So basically, that's all I have to say. Is my 5 minutes up?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Jerry, thank you very much. Just before you run, I just want to comment about the chains, first of all, on the swings. Last season, our insurer, perhaps it was even last summer before that, we had an issue with some of our chains for our swing sets, in the fact that our insurer inspected them and found out that they actually were not correctly, whatever, the chains needed to be the right certification. And so our staff immediately removed them all as a safety measure, and they ordered new chains. And as I understand it, it's a backlog to get these things. So The chains are coming. I was hoping that Terry was here tonight, but he's not. And Terry would be able to answer that question for you a little bit better.
Very good.
Oh, is Terry virtual? Let's just take a second. Terry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Mr. Vachon, the chains on the swing sets, did you order those chains?
yep. Thank you, Your Worship. The chains have arrived, and we will be installing them later on this month.
There you go.
Great. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I know there are a lot of people asking that question too, by the way,
Thank
across
you.
the whole community, because we have swing sets and playground equipment everywhere, it seems.
Right.
So
Good
thanks for
enough.
bringing that up, Jerry. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Thank you, Terry. Okay. Someone else want to speak at the microphone tonight? Anybody else? Yes. Hello. Come right up. I don't think I've met you, so I don't know your name. So you have to tell me your name and your address.
Actually, we have met. My name is Melinda Benoit.
Oh, very
I
nice.
own
Nice.
Chez Michel Restaurant. Sorry,
Yes.
I was having a bit of a coughing fit over there. I have passed around a packet to everyone.
Is this the one that you passed around?
It is.
Okay, I saw it here. I wondered who brought it out. So thank you for that.
I did. You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me a voice today. My name is Melinda Benoit. Myself and Winston Barrett own Chez Michel Restaurant. We're located at 150 Mill Street in Creemore. We purchased this restaurant in the community where we live, knowing it was dependent on tourist traffic. Our mission is to create a positive working environment where we serve creative French cuisine and have dedicated customer attention in an affordable way. Restaurant income is based on a number of seats. It is a perishable commodity, especially in a seasonal market. Our business plan had contingencies to increase income by increasing client base through catering events, appreciation events, takeout programs, outdoor food stalls, volunteer and donation, and marketing. We revived Chez Michel and continue to make improvements to benefit our staff and community, including increasing our restaurant hours to 7 days a week from 5 days a week for lunch and dinner as of June 5th, 2023. To carry a significant staff of 25 through the winter months with increased wages and food costs, assess correctly, income based on number of seats available during peak dining times is vital. The financial implications of the repeal are extreme and would cause financial crisis. After reviewing the report, COU 002-2023 repeal patio policy and the BIA survey results, which I think will be presented to you later, it became obvious clarification of the patios in question was needed, as incorrect information had been circulated to or assumed by a few in our community and our counselor. In your package, there are lots of photos of the patio. So you'll see photos of the patio, measurements of the walkway, proof of safe pedestrians, and the blueprint with specifications. Chez Michel's patio was designed by myself and Dan Perot and Ed Limeguard. Limeguard Construction rebuilds that patio each season to ensure its safety. It is constructed from cattle runs, which I know doesn't sound beautiful, but it is. And as well as the heavy metal patio panels from our original patio set. The floor of the patio is a sturdy wood platform, which allows for wheelchair access and proper drainage. We are one of the few dining establishments in Clearview Township that is fully wheelchair accessible. Signage has been placed at the entrance of each side, indicating a clear walkway. Reflective tape runs down the outer poles facing the driving lanes. Strings of lights drape the ceiling of the patio to increase ambiance, but also visibility for pedestrians and drivers on what is normally a very dark street. The safety and sturdy construction of the patio does not disrupt a walkway or obstruct street traffic. It does, however, beautify the street, illuminate walkways, and force appropriate driving speed and pedestrian passage for downtown safety. Our patio garners attention from tourists, cyclists, bikers, and locals. We serve about 140 patrons, give or take, per day in the summer months. That's 140 shoppers who visit the other small businesses in the surrounding area. Patio seating is already reserved and hot commodity. Lessening the seating from 36 to 10, so let's say we did a smaller patio or no patio, is detrimental to retail, bed and breakfast, brewery, and essential services. A reduction in the size of patio will either cause a cramped walkway by butting it up against the restaurant itself, so we then increase a much smaller walkway. Or if we put it on the road, it then causes another issue and hazard for my staff carrying your lovely lamb across a crowd of people. In your package, you'll also find letters from local retailers, building owners, real estate agents, and local accommodations written in support of patios, that they remain as they are permanently. A few snippets. There are multiple letters, you can read them yourselves, but just a few snippets. I've brought many clients to Chez Michel to dine for dinner, and myself to enjoy their anticipated and much loved anniversary dinner. I know for a fact that people book the patio space before spring ever starts. I myself could barely find a table in March. The Bank Cafe Burger Night is another family fave and made more accessible with a contained patio to enjoy it with the little ones. Or having patios for guests to frequent can make it so that they can stick around and stay a while. We see a direct bump in our revenues when our restaurants and cafes are open and busy. Restaurants like Chez Michel help to create jobs in the area. They promote local farmers, bring tourism, and keep hard-earned money in your neighborhood. In fact, there's almost 4 times greater economic benefit to your local community when you purchase or eat local from a company or restaurant. There's also a compilation in your packet of comments and likes from our social media as a representative of our client base. They also desired to have a voice in this decision. Obviously, it's a very small snippet and only taken from 48 hours. I've always wanted to dine on your gorgeous patio, but have never got the chance. I hope I haven't missed it. Every town around the world hosts summer patios. Why would Creemore take away their tourism income? The patio is such a crucial piece to bring tourists. With new parking lots that have already been approved for Creemore, a proven safe walkway, the analysis of the report COU 002-2023 is incorrect. With significant costs to my business and an extreme impact to the local economy, the financial implications of the report are also incorrect. The initiative stated in the report is the opposite of supporting recreation and culture. Our patio allows us to sponsor the Creemore baseball team and throw things like our anniversary party, a party where my business breaks even. We don't make money. We do it because the community gathers for the music and festivities and the warm night air. Patios in Creemore are the center of recreation and culture. They are capital for Clearview Township and its tourism initiatives. Please defeat the report to repeal the patio policy and make patios permanent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Millen. Do you have any specific questions you want to ask or just reading your statement? Okay, thank you. And thank you for your package of information. All right, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. I saw you jump up over there.
Yes, as usual, I am here on behalf of the BIA. I am the treasurer and I am going to again present more dry numbers after that impassioned speech from Malin, who gave you kind of the feel that we're getting in the community. I did share with all of council as well as the clerk a survey that the BIA put together and its results. So we launched a survey last week, midweek after coming to council. It was our intention to really understand the situation and how the residents of Clearview felt about patios. We did this, we asked 7 simple questions to gauge the interest and how people feel there's an impact in the community with the patios. So with that, we learned a few things that we really wanted to share with council. And one of the first things we learned is that people are using the patios. We had over 600 people respond at the time that I compiled this information. So I think it's probably fair to say that we did get a breadth of people, that this wasn't highly targeted and focused on only people that perhaps we could have reached, that it did get out widely to the community. And with that, we learned that 83%, almost 84% of the community dined on the patio last year. So that's 84% of the respondents, and that we're going to see an increase this year coming. So it shows that our patios are loved, people want to use them. Then the other thing we learned is our community feels that there's an extremely positive impact from these patios, that we are a flourishing community and the patios play an important role. So that was 76% said it was extremely positive, and another 10% said it was positive. Now, here's where things get a little complicated, and it comes to the traffic and parking, which I think is really the issue at hand here for some residents. We learned that the community generally agrees on one thing when it comes to patios, and that is that they slow traffic. What we also learned is some people think that's a good thing and some people think that's a bad thing. Some people were very happy that the patios slowed traffic, and then all of a sudden the focus in Creemore was on the pedestrian, while others felt the aggravation of the slower traffic for moving vehicles. From the BIA's perspective, we are a green pedestrian friendly community, and we really do put a focus on the pedestrian. So those people looking for traffic calming and a beautiful pedestrian experience factor very heavily in what we believe to be part of our healthy community. So the last thing we kind of had was a feeling of how the community or what the feeling on the community's the take from the community on the value to us as a whole. And the comments were really exciting. People thought that the patios connected us. People thought that it gave them an opportunity to be out in a public space. They felt like they were safe. They were happy. Of course, we had about 27 out of our 625 respondents who did not feel that it was positive to have the patios, but that's a very, very small percentage. So generally our takeaway as the BIA was that we should leave the patio policy intact as it sits right now. We think Clearview wants patios. We think the existing policy is serving our members well. We think that the survey has given us some really great information, specifically around concerns that we are able to address alongside our members and staff. And we would really recommend that this council support the existing patio policy. So that's our information on this. Does anybody at council have any questions?
Actually, I'm asking, do you have any questions?
No, I do not have any questions.
Very well, then I do have a question.
Okay.
In your presentation, the leading statement says that the anonymous 7-question survey was written by Treasurer Sarah Hershoff,
That's right.
reviewed by the board's executive and approved by BIA President Nancy Johnson, It was distributed to BIA members via MailChimp and posted to the public via the Creemore BIA and Creemore Caremongering Facebook pages, et cetera, et cetera. So, Sarah, I attended the BIA meeting, and I recall there was no motion that approved the questions that were in this particular survey. So I wonder, what was the procedure that you and the BIA volunteers are doing to create such a survey? I definitely recall in the minutes of the meeting that you talked about that you were going to prepare a survey. But that wasn't a motion of the board. It wasn't a direction. So I wasn't sure how that procedurally worked for you.
So your concern here is that I didn't follow procedure to have a final survey sent out to the community?
No, I think that it's about when you say that it was approved, it's sent out to the board's executive.
Yes.
When I checked with the clerk, there isn't a board executive. They're all board members.
Sorry, board members.
So, and then approved by Nancy. I can appreciate as the president, she can have some
So these are some
executive authority to approve said document, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah.
I would just want to make sure, because Sarah, you have stated many times, both in this room and at BIA meetings, that you're very concerned about policy and make sure that we follow procedures.
Yeah.
And that's something that I take very personal in the fact that as the mayor, I want to make sure that this council follows procedures and policies correctly too.
So I was a little unclear about what the procedure would be with such a short turnaround. So that's why I laid out exactly the process that we went through with this. I wasn't exactly certain how we are able to collect information. That's why we made the survey anonymous. I wasn't exactly certain how, if we were going to be very procedural, how I could kind of put it out. So we put it out in the same way that we would any activity or communication of the BIA. So our normal procedures would be that if you are in the BIA and you are taking on an activity, whether it's promoting the Easter egg hunt or whatever, we have 3 general places of communication. One is our MailChimp, one is through community Facebook page, which is generally the caremongering one, and then the other one is through our own individual things. So I basically followed the exact same procedure that we would use for any communication.
Right.
Because this is information and not actually we did our analysis. We have not voted on this. I would agree with that. However, considering the tight turnaround, we didn't have a lot of options. Had there been proper consultation, then we could have gone through the process of creating documents, having approval of our board, that sort of thing. But under the circumstances, with a blindside motion on Monday, and then having to come back a week later to cement our argument, we felt this was the only option.
Right. Okay. So you bring up 2 things, and I don't want to get into a great debate because I wouldn't want to take up public participation period of time. But Sarah, for clarity, the municipality has procedural bylaws of which we follow. And as the mayor, I do my best to help my council lead through our procedural bylaws. We also have procedures in place such that members of council can put items on the agenda. And I believe I reviewed with you and with other members of the BIA, but for the public, a member can submit a notice of motion in writing.
Absolutely.
It gets added to the agenda. A member can prepare a written report to council, submit it to the clerk, and it gets added on the immediate next council meeting for debate. A member can, and if you've perhaps observed some of my procedures around here as the mayor, a member can, at an open council meeting, plead for a motion to be accepted without notice, and council can make a decision. And then the chair of the meeting, myself, can rule whether we can accept the motion or not. Those are the basic ways for a member of council, any member, including myself, to be able to get something on the agenda. Just so you know, in our procedural bylaw, it does not say the word consultate with the BIA or consultate with the members of the public. It's members of council who have to bring forward motions. It's difficult because as members of council, we do consult with the public and we do hear from the public, and we certainly do. The point that I found interesting when I was reviewing your survey was that it was very focused on 1, the BIA membership, which is excellent because you're a BIA organization, and 2, the Creemore Caremongering Facebook page, which generally has mostly persons that are interested in and around the village of Creemore procedures and policies and things that are happening. I'm fortunate enough as the mayor that I was accepted as a Facebook member to the Creemore Caremongering page. Go figure. I don't live in Creemore, but I am the mayor and I do love and respect all corners of our beautiful township. So I'm very fortunate that it was on there. But I would suggest to you, we make decisions here for the entire township of Clearview. And I would suggest to you too, that your survey work was very focused in your neighborhoods, perhaps. And that's good, because now we're hearing from your neighborhood by seeing the survey. But the responsibility for the members up here is to make decisions for the entire township.
Yes. And I, like you, take my responsibility very seriously.
Yep.
With my BIA hat on, I represent our membership. Certainly the intention of the way that we dispersed the information, as I said to you earlier, was to follow the same procedure that we might when we were doing some other regular activity of the BIA. We did not go to any exceptional efforts to include the greater community. We didn't have a regular avenue for that.
I understand.
So I also do believe that Facebook is a fairly, it's people share things that matter to them. I think 600 people is a significant number, and I don't think it's to be diminished.
Yep.
I also think that as a volunteer and a board member, that as much as we are told that we are respected at this table, when we are told after bringing information forward that we're not doing it properly, the respect, it doesn't quite feel that way to me right now.
I respect what you're saying, Sarah.
We did gather this for information. We respect your right to make a decision. And we thank you for being at that table. I know it's not easy.
Thank you very much for understanding that. And in no way is it disrespectful towards volunteers. I'm the first one to stand up and defend volunteers, for sure. All right. Are there other members who wish to speak? Hello, please come forward.
My name is Bill Mann from Creemore, 4 Johnston Street, good street. I guess I wanted to make 2 comments. First is competitiveness of Clearview. Your objective clearly in looking at the patio issue is it helping or hindering? What I'd like to do is to ask you all a question, including the people here. When we finally get some bloody heat in this township, and the sun comes out, let's say it happens late April. What's one of the things you think about on the weekend? Do you think about eating outside? Do you eat on the patio out back? And if the patio isn't quite ready yet, do you think about going downtown to possibly look to see if there's a patio space and have a lunch or dinner there? I'm sure every one of you does it several times during the summer, early fall, early spring, and late spring periods. The issue for me is, how do we compare to some of the competitive communities that we compete against? So I got on the internet and looked at some towns: Aurelia, Alliston, Barrie, Bracebridge, Gravenhurst, Wasaga Beach, Orangeville, Collingwood. Some of them are more distant, some are close. Guess how many patios they have? They don't have patios on their main street because they are highways, Stainer being a good example. However, there are multiple numbers of patios available to those people who want to use them. How many patios are there in this township? I don't know of any outside of Creemore. Creemore has 4 or 5. Some involve street or walkway walkarounds. Some, for example, like the brewery, has a specific section as part of their building. So my posit to you is, if patios are a very popular human endeavor and want, why are we saying to the only patios we have in this township, we don't want you? And given a comment that you just made, I had the good fortune to be head of public affairs for Imperial Oil for 2 years. And when we had in a major town, refinery closure, an important service station closure, or sadly, it's happened in the petroleum business a lot of downsizing. We went and talked to the people who are going to be affected by it first before we shared it with the public. We didn't have a lot of time to do this. My hope is that there was a mistake this time. Let's call it a learning experience. If a member does bring something to your table, we need to have enough time to ask the people who are affected by it. Thank you.
Democracy is a funny thing, people. You know, it can be affected by a small group of people and can change the ways for the entire township. Or you can make decisions for the entire township. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Is there anybody else on this? No, we've got a great crowd of people, as you probably heard. Hello. Hi, I met you just coming in the door and I've already forgotten your name.
You did. It's Anna Pigden. I live
There you go.
on County Road 42. Can you please clarify the statement that you just made? I heard some whispers in the group of what does he mean by that?
Democracy?
The statement that you just made, the full.
Certainly. I've sat at this table since 2006 and I've witnessed this time and time again, where a small group of people, respectfully, this is a small group of the citizens of Clearview Township, will come forward to this council and make influence to make huge change that affects everyone across this whole township. Small groups of people make these huge impacts, or council makes decisions when there's nobody sitting there, particularly over our budget. I'm actually looking across the audience for Bob Charlton. He's not here tonight. Bob Charlton is the only guy, respectfully, he's the only person who ever attends all of our meetings, right? We make decisions on that, and this room doesn't have these people in here like this.
Mhm.
And yet we make decisions for the entire township. So
So
that
where
was
do you
my
think-
comment, because democracy is a funny thing. We have to put trust in the members who we elect, and the members who we elect have to work together to make the best decisions for the corporation to move the community forward. That's the reality of what we work with our system. Is that enough?
Fair enough.
Got any more?
I also actually have been wondering over the last couple of weeks, do you folks consider yourselves primarily politicians or public servants?
Well, for certain, this role is a political role.
Mhm.
And the public servants are the members of the staff that work for this corporation. Okay? So we are certain politicians, but our responsibility is the sworn oath to serve this municipality to the best of our abilities in an impartial manner. That's what we do.
Mhm.
And if you have a problem with that, anybody does, you can contact the integrity commissioner, of which you can then have an investigation about how persons behave. So,
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
thank you. Does anybody else like to come forward? All right, just as a commentary, again, I do enjoy public participation periods. Usually, public participation period engages a lot of questions. And that's why I always ask speakers if they have any specific questions rather than just give statements. So last chance, anybody got any specific questions they'd like to ask? Oh, Jerry's going to come up and then the gentleman from the back.
And I did have your public works first come in and probably a few years ago, but yet we'll be back October.
Yeah.
So, but then again, we had pandemic here.
Sure.
So I'd like to just bring that up to the council. But
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, they're hearing your message and I know they have your name and address, so we can follow up with you if you like. Thanks, Jerry, for that. All right. Hello, sir.
Hi, I'm Peter Halsall. I live at 1516 Side Road, north of Creemore.
Nice to meet you, Peter.
For context, I was the executive director of the Canadian Urban Institute, not-for-profit, for 5 years. So I have some understanding of the process of urban politics or public service. I'm a little confused by a lot of the focus on procedure about how, because in the city or community building context, engagement's an elusive objective. A lot of people can't achieve it very well. So to be spending 5 minutes questioning how people got 600 people to respond seems a little contrary to earning trust. I found it pretty offensive. I would like to know what this council does, and I understand any member can put a motion forward, and I see no problem with that. I do wonder what comes along with a motion in terms of evidence of the need for a motion on whatever subject it is. So on this case, something brought up without any engagement at all, I think, does the council consider evidence? What evidence does the council consider when evaluating whether a motion should be voted on? And what diligence does the council give to the collection of that data, which indicates engagement of the subject that the motion is addressing? And I'm really confused, but I was away and I came back, and this was in the mix, and it seemed like something that, if it was going to be in the mix, it would have been brought up last fall and processed then. And so you've been fairly aggressive with the presenters, and I wasn't going to say anything. I don't mean to be
aggressive in any way, man.
Well, I just showed up.
Okay.
I don't live in town. You know, if you're worried about, I use the town and contribute quite actively to social activities. But I think these people are here to be heard, and then to be told that you represent everybody else is pretty rough on them. Okay, it comes across that way.
Sure.
So
I apologize.
I'm trying to figure out how this process will unfold, and what diligence you as a council use to determine whether or not a motion needs fully investigated. What data would be appropriate? Do you ask that gets collected? I've been through enough of processes here to realize that engagement can be pretty polarizing, and we don't want that. We've been through enough of it, but I'm seeing how it happens, and I'm wondering if you can explain or give some confidence when we're talking about trust, some confidence that people's voices have been heard, that there is a process that will be gone through to collect actual evidence about what impact this would have on how many people. I think we've heard about an awful lot of people whose jobs depend on it. And now there's some reason it was brought forward, that there's some reason, some value proposition that taking these patios away would improve the life of all the citizens of Clearview. And I guess I'd like to hear what process you go through to decide whether far more people are going to benefit by taking them away than are going to suffer by taking them away, whichever way you want to look at that.
Okay. Peter, let me help you answer a couple of those questions. First of all, you brought up the point about 600 persons from the survey participated, which was an excellent result. Given that the survey had a sort of a short-term period that it was sent out, and congratulations to the treasurer and the president for getting this thing going, which was great from the BIA. It was interesting to read some of the results. The point that I was trying to make was that it was limited in scope, in the fact that decisions that are made at this table, for this to be valuable information for all members of this table, it needs to be information that needs to be reflective across the entire community. Because that's the responsibility each of us have, particularly the mayor and the deputy mayor, but not just that, but the other members of council. So the issue I had was that the survey was limited in scope in the fact that it was focused and targeted just on the neighborhood that you suggest are the people that are going to be impacted on it. When in fact, decisions that are made here at council impact all the residents across the entire township. So we have to balance that. And that's a real fine line when you're a local politician working with this group, you know, individuals. We're not in a party here. We're individual legislators to come up with a balance on how you make decisions. So I won't speak for any other member except for myself when it comes to how we make decisions. You want to know. So there's 3 basic rules, and I've spoken of this many years and many different times when I've had the opportunity to speak about how you make decisions as a politician. And the first thing is the issue something that's in our strategic plan? Is it part of what this community strategically wants, strategically looks at as a vision, something that's been put together as part of our strat plan or a commentary, or has some type of touch to it? Okay. If you're all familiar with our strategic plan, which I hope you are, there's 5 great pillars. It's available on our website. And by the way, we're going to be going through a strat plan review process very shortly. The CAO is looking after that. So the point is the issue in the strat plan? The second thing is, what did the public say about the issue? What did the public say? Again, I'm speaking about myself. And then the third thing is, how do I personally feel about it? Because I'm also a person. And I have to make decisions on my own way. So I have to balance those 3 things in my own mind when I make decisions on any decision here at the council table. Strat plan, where does it fit? Something that's identified as a plan that this community has adopted. Comments from the public. And how do I personally feel? Okay, those are the things that I use. I won't speak for what all the other members do or how they bring forward their recommendations or what data they bring forward in their reports. That's up to them.
So
But
what
the
I'm
issues when
hearing
it comes
is
to me, that's how I have to deal with it. And by the way, I have no executive power or any authority in regards to what members of council bring forward. It gets presented to the clerk, it's on the agenda, and I'm just as surprised as anybody else.
I understand the presentation of motions can come from anywhere. What I am not hearing is that there is any, like you started with strategic plan and then I lost the thread, but the idea that if you're trying to hear from the people, what is the indication that you have? And on a matter, like I get where there's, okay, and that maybe just rests my case, because when we worked on these things, the idea that decisions are made more on item 3, how I personally feel about it. How do you build that personal feeling about something, and how do you put any quantification to the value that the motion is going to achieve?
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing much, so I'll leave it.
Actually, Peter,
using up a lot of people's time.
I know this is a great topic. Members of this council, our previous clerk or our temp clerk who was here, we all attended a session at the county of Simcoe just recently. And it was very surprising to find something that was presented. And I'll dig up the actual legal reference to it, but I'll state it to you in round terms because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I learned this just last week. A Supreme Court of Canada ruling said that an elected official does not have to give any reason for their decision.
No, but the people don't have to trust the elected official either.
That's the concern, is that
Yes.
when we elect anybody and everybody at all layers of government, the Supreme Court of Canada says that there is nothing requiring an elected official to give a reason why they supported anything or not supported anything.
No, I understand that, but I
So-
also understand why we're starting to lose faith and trust
Right.
in elected officials if we don't have some fundamental underpinning of how value is assigned to one position or another. And a lot of that should be interest shown, and yes, and results. Anyway, you've got what 600 people said. You've got it's unfortunate you don't see them as
No, I do. I do. I just want to point out that we've been challenged a few times about procedure, and I want to just point out that's why I presented procedure. So there you go. All right. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak on it? Hello, welcome.
Hi, my name is Gary Walters. I live at 217 Mill Street on Creemore,
Yes.
and I drive past the patios every day and I don't find them a problem. But I understand what you said, where you're trying to look at the impact on the whole of Clearview, and we're just talking about Creemore here. So I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
One is, how many patios are there in Clearview other than in Creemore? that would be affected by this?
I'm thinking two other.
On the street and side.
The Door Knock, which is right across the street from me, has a beautiful patio on their own private property. They have applied to have it on the street, which hasn't been, because that's a County of Simcoe and a Clearview issue at the same time, that one.
So I just wondered, so, I mean, you're looking for input from everybody across Clearview, and yet there seems to be an issue that is very much focused in one small area.
Sure.
Where you've received 600 responses from a community of 1,300 people. So the other thing is, thank you. You said that you look at strategy, public opinion, and your own personal thought.
Sure.
And I wonder,
Again, that's my own personal way of doing
and I
things.
understand that, and I'm addressing the chair at the moment. So I wonder, in something like this, how would you have sought public opinion to help you make your decision?
I hear from public participation, both at this meeting and the one previous. In the last 2 summers, I've had many conversations with citizens of their concern for the patios. I've had over the winter months, I had some questions brought to me, and persons have shared with me, gosh, I hope they don't come back, this kind of attitude. So, I mean, I listen to everybody. I hear them. I've also heard people, and by the way, I've enjoyed dinner on the patio at Chez Michel in the past. Just, you know, it was a July night, freezing cold in July, like what the heck? But anyway, it was a lovely dinner. But the point is that I, like anybody else, speak to my neighbors, speak to people that I run into. I have take phone calls all the time. I truly do. I welcome you to give me a call if you have any questions.
I just feel that you tend to hear from the people who dislike things rather than from
for
people
sure.
who do like. So it's not a particularly.
By the way, that's not any different than public participation period. As I said about our budget, we had one person want to speak, or actually we had 3. But the point is that now we have a whole bunch of people here who perhaps dislike something that's presented in front of council, and suddenly they're here.
Absolutely. And that's the way things go. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that I think you are hearing through 600 responses from the people who are most impacted by this. And I understand you look for the whole of Clearview, but it seems to be something that affects just Creemore. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments and your question. We've certainly run over the 15, but going twice. Oh, there is somebody else. Somebody else wants to come forward. As long as council is comfortable, we're good. Okay. Carry on. Hello.
My name is Patricia Griffith. I don't live in Clearview. I happen to be a Mummerite.
Oh,
but I
good
do
for you.
work in Creemore. I work for Malin and Winston. They have been a very generous employer. We have a number of our team here as well this evening. And I just kind of wanted to share a couple of things that I have noticed. And that is, one is that change is hard. And living in Mulmer, we kind of run into some of the same types of issues that we want to keep our community rural. And the increased traffic that the patios bring, I could understand that there may be some residents who may not appreciate that. Same way that they don't appreciate the number of weekend people that buy homes up here and come up for the weekends. And the increased traffic, more difficult to get around. I understand that. However, at the same time, Creemore is a destination. And when the guests come, they want to sit on the patios in the summertime. They want to walk the streets. It not only affects, the patios don't only affect the restaurant itself, but it affects all of the other businesses in town as well. It affects from the lavender farm to all of the small shops along the way. It brings people to Creemore. Like you said, there are not that many other patios besides in Creemore. Also, the number of communities out there, whether it be Simcoe, the city of Toronto, all of them are approving to increase the number of bump outs as opposed to taking them away. And for us to do that, I just my opinion, I just find that it's quite ludicrous. And if we want to have increased revenue within our community, we have to be able to allow those businesses to increase their revenue and increase the taxes that are brought forth into Clearview. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice to see you tonight. Anybody else going for the third time? All right. Later on in the meeting, we're going to discuss and debate COU 002-2023. We have a few procedural matters before we get there. So I invite you to stay tuned. I would like to advise, though, that once we close public participation period, there will be no further comments from the public. Just as I was trying to share earlier, it's the responsibility of this table to make decisions. Okay? Yes, go ahead, Bill.
One difficult thing. Seems to me if there's a proposal, what's upon patio is problem. From my competitive description to you, I mean, the fun of it's an opportunity.
Sure.
I was thinking we could do it against energy or energy.
Yes.
But I hope there's balance in the fact that maybe it's not on one hand, but it's the devil right.
Thank you, Bill, for that comment. I appreciate that. So I would ask members of the public to just be advised that there will be very likely a good debate from the members of this council. So I look forward to that. And I would ask you to pay attention to the commentaries that my fellow colleagues would say. Okay. Thank you. We're going to close public participation period. Madam Clerk, you want to make a note that when we discuss public participation period, when we do the procedural review, that we stroke out the 15 minutes and leave it to the call of the chair, because we've obviously gone beyond that. Madam Clerk, you good with that? Okay. All right. We have deputations and presentations. Nancy Johnson is here from the Creemore BIA. She's going to present the budget information. Hello, Nancy. Nice to see you again.
Good evening.
Yeah. Sarah will get you set up and then we'll hear your presentation.
I don't want to look at myself the whole time. Okay. Okay. So keep in mind, this is my very first PowerPoint. So we're not even sure if it's going to work. Is it going to work? Well, first I'll start. Good evening, Mayor Measures, councillors, public. My name is Nancy Johnston. I've been a resident here in Clearview Township for about 20 years, and I'm joining you here today to present our BIA budget for 2023, as I'm the newly elected president of the BIA. While being a president can be rewarding, it's also a very difficult position. Creemore is a very tiny village, as we all know, and actually I have a really small little cute little fact that I just discovered. On any given day in Creemore, even in the dreariest of winter months, there's 150 odd people working in just the BIA itself. That doesn't include the Creedon Valley or the school or the metal work, but it's a lot of, and then in the summer months when it's a little bit busier, there's up to 250, which I thought was very impressive. I didn't think it was that many people there. Except for the Creemore Springs, of course, small independent businesses with the owners and operators walking in every day and opening the doors. Creemore's BIA members are diverse. They all have their own goals, their own objectives, their own ideas, and of course, opinions. They're kind of like I keep on going back to this, but it's kind of like this little United Nations, very microscopic, but we've all got the same common thing. And I'm going to go to a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's from my favorite movie, Family Man. And it's, "Gentlemen, business is business. Wall Street, Main Street, Mill Street, Gideon Street. We're all just a bunch of people getting out of bed, just trying to get our kids through college." Mm-hmm. So that's the way I look at our street. So I'm very happy to take up the reins and truly look forward to the next 4 years. I'm looking forward to working with the members, all our volunteers, all the council, the mayor, all the amazing staff at the township. So let the slides begin. Oh, it worked. Okay, good. Okay. So President, me, Vice President is Malin, Treasurer is Sarah Hershoff, our Secretary is Linda DeWinter, and our past President is Lori Severin. Members at large, which sit on our board as Heather Harding, Shara Mara, and Councillor John Broderick. Any questions? Nope. Next, oh, okay. Highlights from almost post-pandemic year 2022. Okay, so we finally got the Village Green open, which was really exciting. And we had the first event in 2 years, which was our Easter egg hunt, which was great. We also did initiative, the Muskoka chair sponsorship. And what we did is we bought Muskoka chairs and then people could sponsor them and we paint them a beautiful, last couple of years was 2 years, I think it was lavender color to match the lavender fields. And it's been a very successful campaign. We partnership with the Clearview Township for watering our plants and street cleaning. Thank you very much. You kept our flowers alive. The summer solstice was a really great event. It was actually in the street because the park wasn't open yet. And then the autumn equinox was in the Village Green because it was open. It was really well attended. It was live music. It was really fun. Of course, we have the Horse and Hound Parade, which is a Thanksgiving weekend. And we also do the trick or treat on Halloween and the Christmas in the Valley. And of course, don't forget the Santa Claus Parade. Okay, so moving forward for 2023, this weekend, actually the next coming weekend, this weekend, sorry, is we have an Easter egg hunt in the Village Green. We're also partnering with the Clearview Community Church because they do one, we do one, so we just mashed it all together. The May long weekend's coming up, so we're going to be having our street planters out hopefully soon, and we're going to be doing our chairs. And this summer, what we decided to do is instead of having a lavender theme, we're going to coordinate with the park. We're going to have orange and yellow and another kind of orangey color to coordinate, and it looks like seamless. So we're just going to start decorating the downtown core. Summer events and promotions begin the Vintage Festival, which is still not sure 100% if we're going to do it. And the summer solstice, which is June 16th. And then July and August, the Village Green has a Sunday festival scheduled every single Sunday in July and August. It's a free event. There's going to be live music, exercising, things for the kids. They've got a whole lineup of stuff they're going to do, which is amazing. In August, we have the Copper Kettle Festival. This is one of the signature events. Am I getting that right? And then we have in September, we've got the fall street decor. We switch off from the summer street stuff to the fall stuff, pumpkins and that kind of stuff. And then we do the Horse and Hound Parade and the Harvest Festival, which is we're really excited about. We're working with a bunch of the groups, the Farmers Market, the Village Green, the Horticultural Society, anybody who wants to participate. And we're going to make it more of a harvest festival. And then be in our downtown core. And of course, the trick or treat, which is always fun. No headless horsemen's out though. Yeah. November, there'll be the holiday shopping event and we promotions in the holiday street decor. And then November, December is Christmas in the Valley and the Santa Claus Parade. I lost my water and I really need it. That's okay. Okay, so recommended key priorities for 2023. Experience in the town, streetscape and beautifications, our mandate to beautify the street. So we are, as I said before, oh, thank you. We're going to coordinate all our chairs and our flowers to be orange and just so it's seamless. They say public speaking is the #1 fear, and I can guarantee it is. Okay, Superman pose, right? Okay. The next one is community support, collaboration with community groups and Creemore Foundation. The community groups are gathering and they're gaining speed. People are so happy to have the Village Green open. We've got so many amazing community organizations that just want to participate. We're all kind of working together towards a common goal to activate our streets, to get our communities out, to get the tourism going. And I want to make sure that we understand what tourism is, not just someone coming up from Toronto or someone coming from London. It's people coming from our next township, Barrie, Collingwood, Shelburne, Orangeville. They're coming into Clearview Township. We've got so much to offer here. So the groups are coming together and they're ready. They're ready for the masses. Okay, BIA membership relations. It's an election year. We're here, yay. More participation from membership, volunteers to form subcommittees and event volunteers. We have a great group of volunteers. There's more and more coming out every day. There's the former volunteers, but even, I mean, there's people that are coming forward to actually coordinate the new volunteers and the older volunteers, not older in age, but the former volunteers. So our volunteers, we call them Friends of the BIA, is extensive and it's getting really fun. Okay. And that's it for that one. Marketing, telling the story of Creemore. These next two go kind of hand in hand. So I'll talk about one, to improve our digital storytelling program, outsource our social media and our website management. We've come to realize that, I'm sure you guys have, and I know Amanda and I have talked about this, the importance of social media, whether that be our websites, whether it be our Instagrams, our Facebooks, Google searches, to TripAdvisors. It's so important to have a really good platforms and be managed all the time. I looked at our Instagram, and the last time we posted something was in December. So people that are coming up and they're going, oh, what should I do this weekend? We should go to Clearview. Where are we going to go? And they look it up. Oh, discover Clearview. Oh, there's Creemore. And then there's like nothing there. Amanda's is great, the Clearview Township. So what we're trying to do is we've actually portioned some money towards just social media. We've outsourced a girl. She's a local girl. She's going to do all of our social media, because we know you get what you pay for, and none of us can do ours even justice ourselves, let alone try to do it for the BIA, which again is like United Nations. Everyone's got a different agenda. There's a sewing store in town. There's a hardware store. There's, the new patisserie in town. There's the IDA. Everyone's got something different. And this girl is pretty darn good about actually just doing the experience Clearview, experience Creemore, and she's local, so she gets it. And the other thing, the collaboration in the new tourist strategic plan for Clearview. I wanted to read this because I read your, Amanda and I were talking, and this was I can't even say it, Strategic Sustainable Tourism Plan. This is a really good document. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And I want to read something because it really stuck in my head. The goals of the Sustainable Strategic Tourism Plan are: provide guidance and prioritize tourism tasks, explore how come I'm nervous? This is terrible. Okay, explore how we are best attract our visitors to support and benefit the local economy and strengthen local community. Recommend ways to embrace opportunities to boost tourism through destination and experience development. Consider the resources required to support tourism activities in the township. Show appreciation to the natural environment and well-being. And then our vision: to be a distinctive Ontario community showcasing the charm of rural living, small town authenticity, rugged natural beauty, all positioned close to the mountain and beaches, and a flourishing food and farm culture scene. Our mission, together with our community stakeholders, is we will work to generate economic prosperity through tourism while being sustainable and providing visitors as well as locals recreational opportunities to enhance quality of life. Brilliant. I love this. So through reading this, I started thinking, oh my goodness, like there is so much in Clearview. We've got the Keyhole, we've got the Nottawasaga Bluffs, we've got the Eco Pond. I didn't even know that existed near the dog park. We've got so many things that are around us, and the vistas, the views, the trails that we were on the Bruce Trail. It's like there's tons. So, but I just want to say, BIA is I guarantee you, I'm going to do this. When they come to Creemore, they're going to meet the expectations. When they finish the trails, they're off their bikes, or they're coming in from their walk around the pond, and they stumble across our little community, that they're, wow, we're gonna exceed their expectations, and that's my goal. Okay, all right, that's it for that. And continuing on our traditions. We want to keep our Easter egg hunt. We want to keep our horse and hounds. We want to keep our summer solstice. And of course, we've got the tourist more. There's all these little tiny festivals that activate our community, brings people down to our main street, brings the tourists in from far and wide and local. We want to keep those going because consistency is what brings prosperity, I think. Okay, and then last but not least, long-term planning. Evaluate ideas for streetscape, capital projects, and member surveys. And this is another one I'm really excited about. Number 2 is a service level agreement between Clearview Township. Was Terry Vashon you're working with? No, it was Dan Perot. So Dan Perot, it's like in terms of, so we know that we should be sweeping the streets then, or we know that we should have this in place. We're trying to have some kind of who's in charge of what, who's trimming the trees, who's doing the weeding, who's doing the watering. So we have a strategic plan that's like, we all know what's going to happen next. So we're working on that as well. Okay, have I babbled on? And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, first of all, I think you did a great job as a public speaker there. So good job. And thank you for your support to bring you up a bottle of water to make you comfortable. So there you go.
Yeah.
Nancy, good job. That's a good report so far, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it very much.
And I was talking with Amanda and she's quite an inspiration, and I think the whole tourism thing is amazing and it just brings prosperity. Like we were talking the other night with the 5 things. It's a really good thing. And it's not just from afar, it's from our
Okay.
neighbors. Okay,
Well done, Nancy.
you ready? I leave it to Sarah Hershaw.
All right. And Sarah's back to talk
I'm
about
back.
the budget.
Yeah, you can't
Thank
get rid of me, can you? So, as you know, I'm the treasurer, and this was our last term was really exciting. At the beginning of our last term as the BIA, we committed to doing a levy review to ensure the success of the BIA long term. So after 4 hard years, which included and 3 of which were in the pandemic, we were able to communicate with our members. We were able to come up with some strategies, and we were able to implement an increase to the BIA's levy, which is quite a remarkable thing. I don't know the last board that was able to do that. So hats off to the leadership of Lori Severn for that, and also to everybody in our group of BIA members that was committed to giving a little bit more money to make the street a little bit better and to improve the experience in Creemore. So that was really great. What that does is it gives us a little bit more wiggle room in 2023, where we have $25,000 to spend collected through our membership, and then additional funds that we are able to access through donations and activities. Is there another slide here with the actual budget that the council can see? So, yeah. So there's our draft budget there. Some highlights are the levy that moved from $20,000 to $25,000. Income comes from our events and activities, outreach to the community for sponsorship. And of course, we must acknowledge the fact that Creemore Springs is an extremely generous sponsor, and they provide about $10,000 in this year. So we were very happy about that. We're personally not very excited about high interest rates, but that's going to bode well for the BIA and give us a little bit of extra cash. We do have a nice nest egg in our account right now of about $80,000, and we have yet to receive our levies for 2023. So the conversation that we're going to be having at the board level and within the community is how best to utilize the money. The reason that we have such a big amount of money in the bank is because we had saved for years to replace our planters, and the township so kindly did that for us. And that was a significant cost. So that's why we have this money. And now now that we've done the levy review, we feel a little bit more stable in terms of our finances. And then we'll be able to kind of look at some different projects that we can possibly invest in to better the community. So most of it's just operations with the exception of events, which I feel Nancy has covered quite well. So that is our budget for 2023. Are there any questions?
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah. Treasurer Sarah. Is that the end of your full presentation? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll just
Yeah,
put it
unless
open.
you have questions.
Thank you. I'll put it open to members of council if they have any questions to either the president or the treasurer. Any members from council? Yes, the deputy mayor. Oh, Marty. Okay, you guys don't argue now. Who wants to go first? Okay, you're up. Paul.
First, a comment to Nancy. I was down there and we talk about the events that you were doing with the BIA. And actually, Nancy and I had a nice talk down there a week ago. I spent time in Creemore this Saturday with the 3-on-3 hockey tournament.
Yes.
The arena was packed and a
Yes.
lot of people were
I
downtown.
got a lot of families over.
And that's
Great.
one of the events that Clearview puts on, I think, and Amanda did a great job, and it was fun being there.
Husband was a referee. He said it was amazing.
It was amazing. So anyways, kudos to everybody who participated and benefited from that as well. Quick question, Nancy, can you tell me, just for my own interest, how many members are there in the BIA?
Oh, boy. 68.
There's about 30 businesses.
30 businesses and about 60, and I'm going off that just like.
30 businesses.
And
Those 68 members
Yeah.
and members. Okay.
And keep in mind that we don't have access to a lot of the building owners' emails. I'm just going off an email list. that I-
That's fine. I just wanted to hear when I see your,
90.
Yeah, so membership is, so you are a member if you run a business within the BIA or if you own a building within the BIA. So 30 members, business members, and then probably about the same building owners.
thank you.
Marty Van Beelen, or not Van Beelen. Holy cow. This is Paul Van Staveren.
No
This is
Van.
Marty Beelen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sarah, is there, do you have, a statement on how much retained earnings you have now? Because I know most organizations try to keep like 1 or 2 times their operating expenses, and I don't see,
Yes,
Like a
I
balance?
do have, I might need to call it up from our last meeting. As of our last meeting, and that was prior to the deposit of a $10,000 check, we had $78,000 in the bank. So we do have enough money that we are, we've got a nice nest egg there. But we
you're
also,
fiscally sound then, that's.
yeah,
all
we're
I was
very
curious.
fiscally sound. We also feel that money that the public has given us is meant to be spent for the betterment of the community. So we don't want to sit on too much of it, but we do want to be very responsible. We are in excellent financial shape, and we know that we have a community that supports us. If we're doing good work in the community, we are able to find money to make those things happen.
All right, members of council, anything further? Thank you, Marty. Anybody else? The clerk just advised me that our treasurer for Clearview Township is on board and she's available if anybody had any questions for her. Although this is the BIA's budget presentation. So any members of
Well,
council?
Can I say something?
Sure, please.
Thank you, Kelly. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
She's been fantastic. She
There's
helps
Kelly.
us.
Where are you?
Yeah.
There she is. Hi, Kelly.
She helps us with questions that we have as volunteers. These, it is public funds that we're dealing with, and we really appreciate her professional opinion.
Yeah, well, her entire staff too have been tasked with an awful lot of work during budget season. And then they've been also dealing with all the halls and the boards and all the other things that they have to do, and grants and FIRs to the province, the whole bit. It's been an awful lot of work. So congratulations to the Treasury Department.
Thank you, Your Worship. Anytime you need us, Sarah, you know where to find us.
There you go. All right, if there's nothing further, I'll thank the BIA members for their presentation here tonight. And council, I do have a small motion that's on our agenda, so I'll read it now and look for a mover and seconder. Be it resolved that the deputation by Nancy Donson, president of the Creemore BIA, regarding the Creemore BIA budget 2023 be received. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Broderick, seconded by Councillor Janine. Thank you. Is there any questions to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Deputation of the presentation is now complete. As I mentioned at the beginning at the beginning of the meeting, the My Friend's House delegation is not happening tonight and will be rescheduled to another meeting. So moving on in our agenda, item 6 is public meetings. There are no public meetings scheduled for tonight. So item 7 is approval of the council meeting minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the March 27, 2023 council meeting be approved as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Mr. Walker, Mr. Beelen, thank you. Any questions on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you. A business arising from the minutes. Any business from the minutes? No business from the minutes. Thank you very much. Communications from the mayor. Council, there are 3 items that have been added. The first one is the National Volunteer Week proclamation. You know what? I was busy printing it and I didn't print it off in front of me. It's on your agenda. I was going to state it, but let's just state April is the month we acknowledge and recognize volunteers, and the proclamation is a part of that. And we thank all the volunteers that serve both the municipality and the corporation of the Township of Clearview, but also volunteers that serve our community and the greater community. There's all kinds of organizations across our community that have volunteers, and volunteerism is part of being a Canadian. So I think it's a great thing. So really happy that that's on there. Council, item number 9.2 is the Township of Luke and Bidda regarding barriers to women in politics. Is there any questions on that? Yes, Mr. Broderick. Can you activate your microphone there, John? Thank you.
Thank you, your worship. I would like that one pulled for special consideration. I think it's something we should be sending a letter of support for.
All right, let's consider that pulled. Do you have anything you want to say about that? Did you want to bring forward a motion or?
Yes, I would like to motion that we develop a letter of support for that.
Okay. So Madam Clerk, a letter to support the motion in regards to the barriers of women in politics recommendation. Is there a seconder on that? Yes, thank you, Councillor Deneen. I'm going to count on you for jumping in there. Any questions or comments about this? My comment will be this. I'm really pleased that Councillor Deneen is with us. Thank you very much. She does bring a great level of calmness to this council table. And you can appreciate, folks, that sometimes these guys up here need that. So thanks very much. Yes.
Thank you, your worship. Just for clarification, Councillor Broderick, would you like it circulated to all municipalities and the provincial government?
Through your worship, yes, please.
All right, we'll let the clerk put together a little motion.
Thank you, your worship. Would you like me to read out the
Sure,
motion before
please
you
do.
vote?
Yep.
Moved by Councillor Broderick, second by Councillor Deneen, that the staff be directed to provide a letter of support for barriers for women in politics, and that the letter of support be circulated to all Ontario municipalities of the provincial government.
Is that your recommendation, Mr. Broderick?
Yes, it is, your worship.
All right, thank you. Members of council, you've heard the motion. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. That'll carry. Certainly look after that. I'd be happy to sign that, Madam Clerk, when you have that prepared. Item 3 is the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors objection to the new fees proposed by Enbridge Gas. Hope this caught everybody's attention. Yes, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, your worship. I'd like to pull 9.3.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Which is a letter from the Association of Ontario Roads Association.
Yep.
And they are asking requests from municipalities to support by a motion to hopefully deny Enbridge Gas, who hope to charge $200 per locate. So in other words, you as an individual want to locate, you will end up paying $200. Now it's a free locate through one call. Enbridge decided that they wish to charge. So municipalities will also have to pay that when we ask for a locate. So it's $200 per locate, which could affect you as individuals and certainly will affect municipalities when we get into some major construction. So I would like support from this council to support the motion from AORs and have it sent to the province to the province of the Ontario Ministry of Public. It's in their motion. Business service delivery to the Minister of Infrastructure, Minister of Energy, Premier Doug Ford, associations of Ontario road supervisors, and associations of municipalities of Ontario. As support for the opposition against the $200 increase for locates.
All right, Mr. Walker, thank you for that. I'll give the clerk a minute to catch up. And while she's doing that, I'll consider you the mover. Is there a seconder? Is there a second? Oh, over here? Okay, Councillor MacArthur, I'll acknowledge Councillor MacArthur will be the seconder. And is there any questions? Yes, Mr. Walker, go ahead first as the mover.
Just like to ask Dan, do you have any idea, Dan, how many locates we would maybe go through as municipality only through a construction season? I mean, I'm throwing at you quite a question, but I'm just wondering, do you have any idea?
Mr. Perot.
Thank you, your worship. Through you to Councillor Walker. I would say a few dozen at least, you know, every time we put a sign in the ground, every time we dig a ditch, Anytime there's a water main break, do we have to dig? You know, so off the top of my head, you know, maybe 30, 40 at least in a year.
It is can be a very, very costly venture if we have to start paying $200 per locate.
As well as the administration of actually preparing those type of checks. Crazy. Go ahead, Mr. Beelan, you want something?
Thank you, Your Worship. Robert, does that include that last paragraph where it says they want our public works senior manager to further investigate the true cost of a proposed fee? Because I think it should include that.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, did you catch that? You're nodding your head. Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. Does anybody else like to speak to this issue? This communication? No? All right. I'll wait for the clerk then, and then we'll read the motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion on the floor has been moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor MacArthur. The council support the resolution from AORS as outlined in their correspondence dated March 27, 2023, regarding objecting to a new fee proposed by Enbridge Gas to charge third-party contractors and other utilities for utility locates, and that the support resolution be circulated to the entities provided in the resolution. And would you like me to specify the last paragraph about the Public Works Senior Management? Okay. And we'll add to the end of the motion and further that Public Works Senior Management and Directors survey further investigate the true costs of the proposed fee on our budgets.
Mr. Walker? Okay. All right. Council, you've had a good discussion on it. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for putting that together. We have a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Again, I look forward to signing that when you have that prepared. Thank you very much. At this time, we've completed all the communications from the mayor. We do have a quick opportunity to speak about the county. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add in regards to the county and county reports?
Thank you, Your Worship. We did attend last Tuesday. The county council has embarked on some training. So we brought our clerks in and participate in ethics planning, legal matters and stuff like that. So there's not much to say as far as a working paper is concerned. Now, on Thursday, I did attend the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority Ag Advisory Committee, and it was very interesting. There's been a lot of pushback from different parts of the from county individuals, whatever we want to talk about it. NVCA has come around a lot as far as being receptive to a lot of people's concerns, and I heard that reflected in our meeting. Now, saying that, we will see an initiative this summer with the NVCA working in Collingwood. They've identified some major problems between various invasive species, being phragmites. They feel they've got that under control, but Black Ash Creek and around that area, they have a tremendous group of volunteers who go in. We did hear at our last meeting from Mr. Todd from the NVCA in regards what they're planning on doing with the Carruthers Park and Avening. So they are trying to be proactive in our area, and it's very positive to see. So I've had my eyes open a bit, and it's a good feeling. So thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you. Yes. The county also, I was going to advise that they've circulated a tour availability for the members of county council to go and see some of the facilities across the greater county of Simcoe. I've scheduled myself to attend 2 of the 4. I think you've scheduled yourself for 3, the west one only. Okay. Council, I was advised by the clerk of the county of Simcoe that if there are some availabilities on the bus, as in empty seats, that members of county council are able to invite other members of our own local councils. So keep your eye on on your emails. You may get a quick invite if you're available to go on a tour to see some of the county facilities. So I'll just give you a heads up that may come, given availability on the bus. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's really all I have at this time from county as well. I look forward to our meeting next week. We're actually returning on Tuesday following the Easter weekend. So we'll go right to that on 9 o'clock on Tuesday. All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Council, we're going to go to ward reports at this time. This is where the motion from Mr. MacArthur is. However, we will hear from our members each first if they have a ward report or any comments in regards to activities of their wards and or their responsibilities or any commentary. We can go through that first, and then we will go to Councillor MacArthur. I'm going to start with Mr. Walker. You can go first. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. It's nice to be number one for a change. With the last name of Walker, it's usually the other way.
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Ward reports, I don't have any such thing as a ward report, but I just wanted to say a thank you to Terry, Amanda, Lily, Jessica, Dan, the Clearview staff of the Stainer and Recreation Facilities, and the volunteers who helped make the 3-on-3 tournament this past weekend a huge success. To Courtney and the Youth Center staff and the Clearview Youth, who did an awesome job with the pancake breakfast and operating the concession booth. Also to the library staff who helped with the games on Saturday in the hall and their volunteer support. All in all, well done, Team Clearview. That's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be there. Mr. Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. With my name Beelan, I'm used to going near the front, so.
There you go.
March 30th, I attended the evening hall board meeting. The board is getting ready for the reno that's going to start very soon. Their last concert is coming up this weekend, and they're getting ready to move all the items into storage, which should be quite an undertaking. The hall board was surprised that they were not contacted about the motion about the size of boards, as they felt they were a direct stakeholder. The agendas are public information and are available well before the public meetings. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Councillor Deneen.
I'm next. On behalf of the Nottawa Hall Community Hall Board, I just wanted to say thank you to Huronia Auto Wreckers and Recycling Limited. Once again, they're supporting us in our fundraiser scrap metal drive, and it's off to a good start. And finally, I just want to say safe and happy Easter to everybody out there. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything further you want to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. We were, Councillor Balin, Councillor Walker, yourself, myself participated on the 3-on-3, as we already alluded to. We got the puck dropping and got to take pictures. However, that was great, but also that this past Saturday night, Councillor Balin and the Mayor and myself participated in the know-it-all ball. It was not a pretty thing. But we were there, and of course, we did win the best table. We beat Amanda's table. No, I can't say that, Amanda. We did. We had the best table and best dressed table. So, anyways, as far as our results, they'll remain where they are. And anyways, but it was something we did ourselves on our own fruition, and we had a good time doing it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to you and your wife for organizing that outing. That was good. I'm going to skip Councillor MacArthur. Mr. Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the 25th of March, I did attend a working meeting at the Sunnydale Hall. On the 28th, attended the county training session. And I've also scheduled for the west section of the county tour as well. You.
All right, thank you. I would like to make a couple comments, and then I'll go to Mr. MacArthur. Last Friday, prior to the weekend, last Friday, I was invited to attend the Institute of South Georgian Bay's event that was held at the Marsh Street Center over in Clarksburg. And I believe they started the event thinking there'd be about 40 people there. There was over 80 people there. So if you're familiar with that facility, it was crammed. It was fun. It was really great to be with a whole lot of people talking about issues across the greater South Georgian Bay area. And it was, I felt a good workshop and a good discussion about their strategic planning. And so it was an honor to represent Clearview there. It was kind of a neat moment, I have to tell you, as a Clearview resident. They did ask for people to stand up from various communities. And so they asked for Town of Blue Mountains, and about half the room stood up. It is in the Town of Blue Mountains, kind of made sense. And they asked for Collingwood and about 15 people stood up. And then they asked for Wasaga Beach and one person stood up. And then they asked for Clearview and there were 8 of us that were Clearview residents at this great event. And I was impressed. So there was representation across, from various social organizations and so on that were there. And so that was just kind of nice to go to an event like that and see people from Clearview participating in this greater concern called the Institute of South Georgian Bay. So you're going to hear more about that, council, as I believe they're going to prepare their reports and then they're going to come around and speak to various councils. So Madam Clerk, you may see a request for a deputation. The other thing that happened this weekend is a few people have mentioned it, the 3-on-3 hockey tournament, terrific event, a tremendous honor to be able to go to the ice and drop the puck and help these young people that really enjoy the sport of hockey in a 3-on-3 manner, which is really uncommon, but very cool to see because the kids really get to demonstrate their skills when they have wide open ice like that. So it was a real pleasure to watch some of that action, to meet some of the parents. And I just want to speak about economic impact for a minute. I know some persons spoke about tourism. I was in Creemore after the Creemore opening ceremony and puck drop, and I was there with Dean Holland, who was graciously sang "O Canada" for the event, and he did a spectacular job, as he always does. Dean and I just thought, we'd sneak out and go for a sandwich or something. Thought we'd go to the pub, and we went down to the pub, and it was completely packed, like completely packed. People literally standing outside, lining up to get into the pub. So I just poked my head inside to see, full of families, full of kids, full of people. These were all hockey players that were there and their families. So then we went across the street to the bakery. Went into the bakery, completely packed. Same thing. Now, it wasn't all family. There was like 2 tables that were families that were there with hockey players, but then there were other residents and visitors from around there. And interestingly enough, I sat at a table because there was a table for 4 and the 2 of us sat down with this young lady who was by herself. And it turns out that she was from Clarksburg and was coming over to visit Creemore because she was trying to sneak away from the tourists in her community. How about that? So it was kind of neat to meet somebody from out of town. Anyway, it was really a pleasure to do that. 3-on-3 had definite economic impact in the whole community. And thank you and congratulations to all the folks that worked on that event. And hats off to the Youth Center for organizing their participation in it. I do have something else going on this week for me as well. I'll be representing Clearview Township, and I've been asked by the Warden of Simcoe County, Warden Clark, to represent the County of Simcoe at the Vimy Memorial to be held at Pace Borden this week. And so I'll be heading over at 6 a.m. in the morning to participate in the sunrise Vimy acknowledgement on your behalf. And it would be my distinct honor to be able to do that. Later on this week, we have a flag raising for the beadonor.ca program, which is known as Green Shirt Day. This week is the 5th anniversary of the tragedy at Humboldt, where the Humboldt hockey team was decimated in that terrible accident. And Green Shirt Day was started as a result of the gift of Logan Boutet, who was a hockey player with that team, who had signed in Alberta and Saskatchewan, they sign a card for organ donation, and he had made his intentions known to the family, and he was an organ donor as a result of that absolute tragedy. But his family have gone on to acknowledge him and acknowledge the work of organ donation and transplant science by creating Green Shirt Day. And so I invite you all to join me and members of council to raise the flag for beadonor.ca at the fire hall, and I'll be wearing my green shirt that day. So we'll hope to see you all there. And the last thing I want to mention on the topic of hockey, our Stainer Siskins right here in Clearview are going into the championship round on Thursday night. They do not know who their opponent is because the Hornets and the Cougars are now going to Game 7 tonight, which is happening in Alliston. So Mayor Norcross, our friend Mayor Richard Norcross from New Tech, is at that game after he leaves his council meeting tonight, cheering on the Hornets. And so we'll see if we end up with an Alliston Siskin final once again, folks, but we'll see what happens there. Apparently the Cougars are pretty good, so we'll have to pay attention. Anyway, the Stainer Siskins are going into the championship round for the Carruthers Division Championship. This will be 2 years in a row that they've done this. You might recall last year they went all the way to the Ontario finals and they placed 3rd in the final round. So that was pretty good for them. So I'm cheering on my Siskins and our Siskins. So we'll hope to see you all there. Those are all the comments that I have tonight, and we look forward to this week. It'll be a busy week. Now, Mr. MacArthur, do you have anything you want to add from a ward report point of view before we go to item 11.2?
And thank you, Your Worship. Seems so long ago, yet it seems so long coming. The St. Patty's Day fundraiser party at the Station on the Green was a huge success, and hats off to all the volunteers and members of the Station on the Green board that put that together. So that's about all I have to say as far as ward reports.
All right, thank you. Then we will move to item 11.2, which is the repealed patio policy. There's a recommendation on here. I will read it as it states. I'll look for the mover and seconder, and Mr. MacArthur, I presume you'll be the mover as it's your mark. And then we will have an opportunity to have a debate. Be it resolved that report COU 002-2023 dated March 27, 2023 be received. And further, that the on-street parking patio policy and guidelines adopted on September 12, 2022 be repealed. Mr. MacArthur is the mover. Is there a seconder on the motion? Seconder on the motion. Second, Mr. Walker, thank you.
Your
Mr.
Worship,
Walker?
comment?
Yes.
Make it known that I am seconding this motion to get it to the floor. Otherwise, it cannot be discussed. Thank you.
That's absolutely correct, and I appreciate that. So the seconder is Councillor Walker. Thank you. All right. As is our procedure, I always give the mover the opportunity to speak first. So Mr. MacArthur, if you'd like to speak first.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I'd like to extend my deepest, what's the word I'm using? For all your concerns last week. That was, I knew I had issues going all day and they exploded just before the meeting. So thanks everybody for your concerns. But I'm just thinking here, out of tragedy maybe comes some good. So now we've had another week. We've got a whole lot more data to make our decisions on. And that's probably, we'll be able to make wiser decisions here tonight. I'd have to say this started last fall, actually, on the campaign trail. I knew the patios, there'd been the odd comment here and there, but I didn't think it was any big deal. But then when I started hearing concerns from businesses within Creemore, I thought, okay, maybe we should look at this a little more serious. And I actually had a call from a business owner this afternoon saying that he was hoping that this would go through because he thought they were a disruption to his particular business. And so on the campaign trail, talking to residents around the town and whatnot, I got a lot of concerns about the disruptions to traffic, parking, all the ones that have been discussed. I'll keep this brief because most people have already highlighted all the major issues. So I'd like to say I'm speaking for the silent minority here tonight. So just interested in some of the concerns I've heard from the public participation. I listened to the meeting last week, and when I wasn't here, I went back and re-listened to it. And I hear businesses talking about the viable businesses. And they said the owner told them that his business wasn't viable, so they decided to buy it as was, without a patio. So that has has question marks arised. Through the surveys and whatnot and comments and emails, I've heard a lot of people compare us to other towns, patios and whatnot. So Barrie, for instance, is all gung-ho to start their patio businesses. But I've researched a few of the patios. They are a 7-day-a-week operation. So Malin, I was really glad to hear tonight that you've stated in coming this summer that you will become a 7-day-a-week operation, because that has been a lot of questions asked in the town on Monday and Tuesdays. Where can we go? So that I'm glad to hear that. Attended the BIA meeting back in January, I believe it was, and Mr. Pro was there, and we discussed the patio and reiterated all the policy and whatnot, and everybody seemed excited. But then the next question, the very next question was, what are we going to do about parking? I thought that was a bit of an oxymoron. And so we told about the budget for 2023, including paving, as long as we can get a deal at the medical center to make public parking over there. And comments were, well, that's too far from downtown. Well, sorry, folks, there's only so much property in Creemore, and it is what it is. The township of course, when COVID started and the province come out and said that we could make things available for outdoor patios, the township supported it and allowed these patios and got through COVID. It was about the only thing we could do for the restaurants at the time, and no fees were charged whatsoever. So in all of the comments here tonight, I've never heard of any possibility of fees being charged or offer of money in return for using the township property. I'm sure some of the taxpayers are starting to feel concerned about that. What else do I got here? So in concluding, I said I'd keep this short. There's many comments on your survey that, of course, weren't exposed here tonight on the concerns of traffic. I know they're not the majority, but I still think there was enough of them to warrant a further discussion on this. And I think my main concern, I maybe should have wrote this different, but my main objective is to repeal the policy now as it is written, just so that we can get discussions going on how to make this patio or some description thereof work for everybody. And I'm open to suggestions from many of my fellow councillors how we could maybe achieve this, and we can go from there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate your comments on that, and I should have acknowledged that before. I'm glad to hear that your family emergency is being handled, but I know you're still going to be dealing with some of that. So I hope that everything works out well, and our best to your family. Okay. Thank you. Looking across the table, anybody have any questions or comments to, yes, Mr. Broderick's first, and looking around the table. Go ahead, Mr. Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a counselor, I have a two-hat principle. I am a Clearview counselor and the Creemore BIA representative. At this table, I am a counselor and will hear all of the information before rendering any decision. I have been asked to present the position of the BIA, and I will do so without prejudice, and will keep an open mind as a counselor should. Creemore BIA concerns regarding the repeal of patio policy. The Creemore BIA recognizes the importance of restaurant and cafe patios in the village of Creemore. Patios enhance the downtown experience. They attract visitors and animate our street during the warmer sessions. It is a fact that people who enjoy dining in town will linger longer in the village and visit stores and other businesses. We would like to see the motion regarding the repeal withdrawn or defeated, so to ensure our existing patio policy as approved by Council on September 12th, 2022 remains in place. Concerns of restaurant stakeholders include tourism for the village of Creemore will be impacted throughout the summer, with diners choosing to go to Collingwood or elsewhere to enjoy the patio experience. Extra seating for diners to gather will be removed, leaving limited in-restaurant seating to deal with the influx of visitors and residents in the summer. The livelihood of our restaurant owners has been put into jeopardy. We are 6 weeks out from the construction of patios, which leaves little time for the restaurants to change their business plans. Some business owners have already incurred substantial investment, including the structure and staff already hired. According to the recent survey done by the BIA, the vast majority of respondents told us that the patios contribute to a better quality of life and provide a positive economic impact for Clearview Township. That is the position of the Creemore BIA.
All right. Thank you for presenting that. Are there other members of council have any questions or comments that they'd like to bring forward? Hey, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, thank you for your emails and your petitions here on this. It helps as a counselor to hear and see some information from the public. That's how we can make our decisions. If we don't hear, then we assume everything is okay. And I don't like what assume means. I have my concerns with the patio are really something that I think can be massaged and worked out. Being on the accessibility committee, I question some AODA compliances. Are we compliant for AODA? Wheelchairs, scooters, those things I think we need to check. We need to work on. The other three things work hand in hand. Safety of pedestrians, safety of workers, and traffic safety. Those things can be put together, and I think we need to massage it. We can maybe revisit that policy, rework the policy. I think there is a possibility there. Myself, monitor it, and at the end of the summer, relook at it and see if there's some changes that we need to make so that it's acceptable for all. We may not get all what we exactly wanted, but at least it's a workable operation that we can move forward with. Those are my comments, Your Worship, at this time.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Is there other members of council who have a comment? Yes, Marty Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a few comments, actually. I'm going to try and hit two birds with one stone here, so to speak. Answering the one gentleman's question about how we make decisions, I'm a new counselor. I'm going to give you a little hint how I do. We try and get as much information as we can. So that includes talking to staff, talking to any experts, if there's any consultants, information nights like tonight, emails, phone calls, while you're out campaigning and in public, and doing your own detective work on Google or even going to a site. So I went out to Creemore today. I used to own the Chez Michel, and I thought, wow, they've done a lot here. I actually measured the sidewalk, and I found out one other guy on council did the same thing, went out and measured it. So unfortunately in Creemore, we don't have big sidewalks, not like Collingwood or Barrie. It'd be nice if we did, there'd be more room. So a couple of my concerns, are we meeting the pedestrian code like Mr. Walker said? And then my other concern is when you're driving, and thank you so much for the pictures that you've included in your package. It shows that cow rail or whatever. Somebody could stick an elbow out of there or whatever. So when someone's walking, can they stick an elbow through there? Well, I don't know if they can or not, but I tell you, I drive a rather. Yeah.
As I said, I thought we were having a council discussion, but I appreciate your comment.
So anyway, I thank you for the pictures. When I'm driving my vehicle, I drive a fairly big truck, not a small little car. So when you're coming up to that spot, it feels like somebody could stick an elbow out or somebody could somehow go out. So I always wait for the other lane to be empty and I sort of use that lane. I've heard comments, people saying, why do people do that? Well, I'm a safe driver. It does slow down traffic. That's probably a good thing. I'm just wondering if we could maybe make the roadway a little bit bigger, use less of that parking lot for the thing. Like as Moose said, we can probably work out a solution here without getting away from patios. I like them. I think they're a good thing. And that's my comment.
All right. Thank you very much, Marty. Again, I just want to remind the public and the council, we're having a discussion here. No, it's okay. A little bit of information is helpful, which I'm generous to. I just don't want to see us get into a debate. So I just want to make sure it's clear. Did you want to speak, Councillor Deneen? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for your work on this as well. And Councillor MacArthur. Just the only things that I can even add to this, except for I'm coming into this with everyone else's experience. I made it down to Creemore, and it's all pandemic related, believe me. I might have made it down to Creemore 3 times last year, so I don't really have a lot of input here. I never did actually see the patios, but the only thing you ever hear is the negative comments about pedestrian traffic, the safety of the customers, parking, and that sort of thing. So it's nice to have the input that you folks have brought forward. And yeah, I'm just going to listen, and hopefully we can come to some sort of an agreement with this for everybody and work through it. And I do think that we can find some common ground. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I like to comment, and I said it last time, when we get into these discussions that are two-sided, we'll say the black and white, the gray area is a lot of times hard to find. And I really appreciate Bill Mann's comment. He said there's an opportunity here, and I respect that. Robert Walker also mentioned about, finding a road, a compromise or whatever. And I'm going to agree with it. I was one of the first ones to run down there when I saw the bylaw, and it was what was explained to people. We don't see bylaws until they're on our paper. We don't, it's just the way it works. So as soon as I saw it, I went down there and I met with Nancy. I met with other people, and I've talked with other people since that time. My biggest concern is public safety. I love patios. So I'm just going to say I'm caught in between. But I think most of us are reflecting that same comment. So hearing this, we have 2 options as a council. If we accept, or 3 options, if we accept the bylaw as presented, we have no controls this summer. We have no authority. They cannot have any patios. And I don't think that's quite right. If we can do an amendment, which is what I'm going to be proposing, if I can get council's support, I think for now we can come to a compromise to get everybody on side. And it allows us time to do a further review of the pros and cons. Because I can tell you, I saw the negative comments as well. I mean, it's great to sell one side of the street, but there was a lot of people's comments that do not reflect what was said tonight. So we as councillors have to look at both of those comments. My recommendation, and I will make a request to amend the motion, that we accept patios for this summer, if I may proceed with this, Your Worship.
Make your amendment.
I would like it that the patios must be situated on the sidewalks, subject to AODA requirements. And that's the only thing I have to say. AODA is something that's very important. We hear us talk about it with all our halls, and that's why we're being pushed with our small halls. But I think that would be a compromise, and that it would solve the questions on safety, on our parking, and going forward, we can review it and see what the outcome comes at the end of the season. So that's my comment, and that's what I'd like to propose, Your Honor.
Okay,
Your Worship.
I'm not Your Honor. I'm
Worship.
Thank you. Paul, first of all, thanks very much for that. I'm not going to call for a seconder just yet, because I'm going to ask the clerk to write this up. But are you already there? You stopped typing. Boy, you're quick. You're all right? Okay. Do you want to speak? And then I'll call for a seconder, because I think you were a little unclear exactly what you're looking for. Maybe if I can go to the clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren. I'm wondering if what you're looking for is more of a referral back to staff to review the policy, maybe in fall 2023, or are you looking to make some changes for this summer and then do a further review in fall 2023?
Through Your Worship, I am looking to amend the motion that Councillor Walker has brought forward, which would mean that we would allow the patios on the sidewalks for this summer.
So you're looking to amend the main motion that was brought forward by Councillor
Correct.
MacArthur, but looking to amend the policy currently how it's written. Maybe our Deputy Director of Public Works can refer to how the policy is written and if that's a change of where they're positioned, the patios. Because there would be an amendment to the policy that we would have to provide if they're only going to be on the sidewalks. So just want clarification. Just to make
I would like
clear.
to review it in the fall,
Okay.
once we've gone through the season, to see how this has worked. I don't want to get rid of the policy or Mr. Walker or Mr. MacArthur's. Because if we approve that, that will get rid of all our authority.
So currently I have kind of typed up a referral back to staff to review the policy regarding some items, including accessibility and AOD compliance and safety of pedestrians, workers, and traffic, and that the report be brought back to council in fall 2023. That means that the policy, if this referral was approved, that means the policy would stand as it is today. It wouldn't be repealed, but no changes would be made to this summer. So there wouldn't be any changes to the policy. But if you're looking for changes to the policy for this summer, just a little bit of tweaks, then I need to include that in an amendment.
I would think that because of Mr. MacArthur's motion, I think it would be appropriate that we make the amendment now with further review. I want to deal with it today, and then we can view it at a later date for other changes.
Okay.
And I'll ask council, your worship, if you want to further discuss it, you're welcome to.
This is how we workshop a motion, and I'm glad, Sasha, you're back because you're a super fast typer. So Paul, your recommendation through the clerk is to prepare this amendment. You're proposing, if I can help, that you want to not repeal the policy, but to amend the policy for this season.
Correct.
To have sidewalk patios.
Correct.
Sidewalk patios that will then meet AODA compliance for workers and pedestrians, et cetera. And we'll refer the entire policy back to the staff for them to review through this season, and we'll have a report back to council in the fall. That sound fair?
Correct.
Madam Clerk, have we got it?
Slowly getting there. Yeah.
I'm going to get to you in a second, but I want to go to a seconder if you don't mind, Dan. Appreciate that. Just so you know, Dan is a great resource over here. He's a really good help. Just as much as the clerk, because the clerk's amazing. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. So I wordsmithed what I believe Deputy Mayor Van Staveren was trying to convey. So the motion on the floor of the amendment is, be it resolved that council directs staff to amend the policy to have patios on sidewalks only in Clearview Township. I can add for summer 2023, and that they are AODA compliant, and that a report be brought back to council in fall 2023 outlining how accessibility and safety of pedestrian, workers, and traffic can be better addressed in the policy, and identify any proposed amendments at that time.
You comfortable?
The only thing I don't know that I agree with putting it for the summer of 2023, and that I would like to make this permanent, that the people here don't have to worry about it every year. But we would review it so that we can bring amendments with discussion with the group, look at the opportunities, what else we have out there we can do for them. So we remove that 2023, that makes it.
All right, we'll strike the 2023 comment. All right, so the mover has a motion. Are there any questions from members of council? I'm looking for a seconder. Seconder on the motion. Is there a seconder on the motion? Yes, Mr. Beelan, thank you. Mr. Perot, would you like to add some commentary now that I have a seconder on the motion?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think maybe I just need a bit of clarification from Deputy Mayor Van Staveren is, are you suggesting that the patio remain on the sidewalk portion, and that the, what I'll call it, what's called in the policy currently is that the sidewalk bypass be on street? Or are you suggesting, just for my clarification, that all of that takes place on the sidewalk portion?
all of it takes place on the sidewalk. And when I was down there looking, whether they put the walking area against the curb or against the building would reflect the business's interest, or whichever one they wanted to do.
If I may, that sounds very familiar to the sidewalk policy that we had prior to this policy.
Yeah, if I may, your worship, and if
Please.
council recalls, I believe that Shay Michelle had that exact setup, I'll call it, the setup prior to COVID and the opening of outdoor dining, wherein they had I don't know the exact number of tables, but they had it a wrought iron enclosure adjacent to the building with some tables outside and an opening at their door. So in essence, they would have to meet the 1.5 meter wide walkway, free passage walkway on the sidewalk, with tables either adjacent to the building or tables against the
Adjacent to
curb
the
line,
curb.
I guess.
Right.
The curb line. That's what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there any members of council have any questions on the amendment as proposed? Perhaps Mr. MacArthur. Coming back to you, sir.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. I drive through town all the time, but it's usually just in and out for supplies, and I didn't realize that there was patios pre-COVID, as to speak. So yeah, I think and I can accept Ben Severin's recommendation. How wide were the sidewalks? He didn't give specifics.
In front of Shea Michelle's are 11 feet, 1 inch.
Okay, so 11 feet minus the roughly 4.5 feet. They've still got
Correct.
6.5 feet to play with.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We'd like to reread the motion.
Yeah, we're going to, the clerk's just asked to reread it for the mover and the seconder, just to be clear. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the rest of council. So the motion on the floor for the amendment is moved by Deputy Mayor Van Staveren, seconded by Councillor Beelan. Be it resolved that the motion before council be amended to strike the second paragraph that the policy should be repealed and add that council directs staff to amend the policy to have patios on the sidewalk portion only in Clearview Township, and that they are AODA compliant, and that a report be brought back to council in fall 2023, outlining how accessibility and safety of pedestrians, workers, and traffic can be better addressed in the policy.
Mover, seconder, still comfortable with that? All right, thank you. Mr. Broderick?
Thank you, Your Worship. Can we? Well, I would like to introduce a motion of deferment.
Deferment
Yeah,
of which? The amendment or the motion?
either or.
Well, that's kind of where we are right now. We're discussing the amendment at this time.
Actually, a deferment of the amendment.
Okay,
I would like to see the patios continue as they are for the summer, and then we revisit this in the fall. Well, essentially, I'm asking to send it back to staff for to take another look at it and come back to us in the fall with
okay, just a
a
moment.
recommendation.
So she's quick. That would be called a referral, not a deferral. If you're going to refer it to staff rather than a deferral, there's a little bit of a difference there. So a referring to staff would mean that they could bring it back at any time in the next little while, or they could bring it back in the fall as what you're asking in your referral, not a deferral.
Thank
Just to
you.
be clear. So which one are you looking for?
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, I was just getting it from her too. So
Referral.
referral. Okay. We got questions, but to be fair, referrals and deferrals also need a seconder. So before we do that, I'll look for a seconder on the referral deferral. Is there a seconder? Kind of, sort of, as in an undecided.
Well, thank you.
Okay, you can ask a question and you can vote as you wish. So, hang on. So Councillor Deneen will be the seconder on the deferral motion. That'll be up to, okay, you want to give Paul the opportunity to speak first? Deputy Mayor.
As the mover for the amendment, I don't have a problem for the referral. However, I would like to deal with this situation in short order. In other words, we've already heard people say they got 6 weeks before their patio opens. Would we be able to deal with a lot of this stuff before 6 weeks?
Well, we could, but the referral right now would leave it would leave the patio policy in place as is until council reviews it in the fall, as compared to what the referral would be. It's different than a deferral. So a referral would leave it in place and we would look at it in the fall. Any other questions on this? Yes, go ahead. Can you turn on your mic? Sorry.
It's about the demographics of the patio. I don't like the pedestrians going out on the road and around the patio when there is an actual sidewalk.
Right.
That's what I'm having trouble with. That sidewalk should be clear for people to transverse up and down the street and not have to go out by traffic. Councillor Beelan alluded to it. You get a big pickup truck with trailer mirrors on it, and it's liable to hit someone if somebody isn't cautious. And that is what I'm struggling with.
Okay, Mr. Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. When I said, yeah, it impedes the traffic, you got to go so slow. So ideally, I don't care about the parking. I think we can give up the parking spots. I just don't like us using that whole parking spot where, and I do like the idea of a railing. I do like the idea of the pedestrians going around their patio area. I just think it was just too far out into traffic. It wasn't giving a good sense of safety there. So I could live with still giving up the parking spots, just not going out as far into traffic, maybe by just 2 feet. You're still using a walkway around. It's just not as far out into traffic. And I think that's what most people complained about when they were driving by there. They didn't feel safe. So I don't know if our staff can work with that to work up a policy, but that's what I would like to see. Rather than no completely on the sidewalk, just not as far out into traffic as it was. Thank you.
All right. Good commentary. We're still talking about a referral point though. So is there any other questions or comments in regards to referral and keeping status quo for this season? Yes, Mr. MacArthur.
Yeah, I still, we've had the full patio as presented the last 2 years. And I think we need to go back to what the deputy mayor recommended. Let's go back to old school for 1 year. And then we've seen both sides of the coin then in real time. And as the amendment to the motion says, we can rediscuss in the fall.
Okay, anybody else on the referral deferral discussion? Referral? Dan, did you want to comment? I saw you there. We don't generally do that during this, but I'll accept it today.
Yeah, sorry, Your Worship. I just want to add a bit of clarification. As everybody knows, we try to put something in place when the province opened up, and looking at this policy and the way the policy reads today is not what was in place for the last 2 years. So according to the policy, there is a required, what they call it, or what this policy calls a 0.5 meter clear zone. So that to me would be that there's an additional half meter from, let's say, where the existing patio sits today or last year, an additional 2 feet, right, basically.
Okay,
that adds a bit of clarification. So what was there for the last 2 years because we didn't have a policy. It was just kind of off the cuff design. When looking at the policy, looking at other municipalities do, that we have 3.5 meter lane width is what was put in place prior to this policy. This policy says then it'll be 4 meters. So it'll be 3.5 meter lane and a 0.5 meter clear zone, then the sidewalk bump out. So hope that adds a bit of clarification to the way that the policy reads that was approved in September.
Okay, so Dan, that's frankly new information because I felt that the policy that we passed in 2022 was reflective of what we were seeing on the street in 2022. So you're telling me that the policy is that the actual measurements are increased in the public passageway, as in the traffic lane is increased, and the patio, not trying to pick on you, but in front of Chez Michel should be the public passageway should be narrower or wider, I mean. Is that correct? Like you're talking about the patio would be narrower according to this policy that's already in front of us.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Okay, so that's definitely news to me because I didn't hear that in 2022. So
in patio location for consideration in the policy.
Yep.
Under on-street parking, there's a section in there that's required to have that the outside edge of the patio must be at least 0.5 meter from the traveled lane, creating a 0.5 meter clear zone. So
I have the policy in front of me here. It's Appendix A. What page number would that be?
It would be page 4, Your Worship. Middle of the page.
Yep. So building side 1.5 meters. Intersections. On-street parking. Full parking space of 6.7 meters in length. That's length. Outside edge of the patio must be at least 0.5 meters from the travel lane center at 0.5 meter clear zone. To be honest, Dan, when you presented that to us back in 2022, I understood that that was the existing distance. So to be honest, Mill Street does not have a stripe down the middle of it. So we don't exactly know where the center is. But
Your Worship, we did put one in late in the summer.
Yes, that's true.
So typically in a local road, any local road in the municipality,
yeah,
our lane widths are about 3.5 meters. So we based when we were tasked to look at patios back in 2021, 3.5 meter lane width, and then the 1.5 meter roadway width. But then in looking into this policy all summer last year, looked at what other municipalities do, and they not only have the 3.5 meter lane width, they leave a clear space of 0.5 meters, and then the patio portion. This says patio, but I would consider the sidewalk bump out area a portion of consideration of the patio itself. So
yes,
hope that it probably added a layer of stuff in there too, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood what the policy says as of today. That was adopted by council in September.
Yes, it was. But again, I also did not go down and measure the street. I know you guys measured the sidewalks. I didn't measure the street.
Yeah.
I apologize for that, but that part, I didn't know that part, Dan. So I appreciate you sharing that with us during this discussion about deferral.
Melinda and I did. We measured the street
Well
just to make sure back 2.5 years ago.
All right. Discussion on deferral. Anything further? Yes.
Let me just ask Dan for
Sure.
clarification. 3.5 meters from the center of the road, plus a 0.5 meter, plus 1.5 meters for walkway. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Worship, to Councillor Van Staveren. Yes, so the first wrought iron portion of the fencing, I'll call it, would be at 4 meters from the center line of the road. And then the 1.5 meters would go from there to the interior wrought iron railing. And then the patio would extend to the face of the building. That's how this policy reads as of today.
Clarification, we'll use Jimmy Shelton as an example. Do they meet that requirement?
The way it was constructed the past 2 years, it would not.
I know that. I know that. I know that. Yeah.
But if this can answer our problems or solve the situation.
We're going to get to the vote here in a minute. Go ahead, Mr. Beelan.
I could live with a referral, knowing that we're 4 meters from the center of the road now to that gate. So I can accept the referral.
Okay, thank you for that information. Anybody else? Mr. MacArthur?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, for the seniors, a lot of the issue with the pedestrian back walkway around, bump out, whatever you're calling it, was the ramps. So I'm thinking the walkway and the patio portion should be built up to curb level all the way around so that there is no reason for anybody to stumble down a ramp.
Well, that would fall underneath AODA inspection. I'm quite sure this community acknowledges what AODA is. We're spending an awful lot of money on AODA, so we know what that is. So we'll definitely be aware of that. Anybody else with any comments on referral? Yes. Okay, we're going to go for you're going to read it again? I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship, for you to the rest of council. So there is a referral on the floor. It's moved by Councillor Broderick, second by Councillor Janine. Be it resolved that the on-street sidewalk patio policy and guidelines be referred to staff to review the policy regarding the following items: accessibility and AODA requirements, safety of pedestrians, workers, and traffic, and that a report be brought back to council in fall 2023, outlining how these items can be better addressed in the policy and identify any proposed amendments, and that the current policy remain in place until further review.
Wow, that's really a standard referral motion, but that just, that's what you call clerk speak. And we appreciate the clerk very much for that. So thank you. I'll go back to Mr. Broderick. Is that a comfortable referral that you have?
Very much so, Your Worship.
Okay. And the seconder, Ms. Deneen? Okay. All right. So if you don't mind, I'm going to speak a couple of comments and then I'm going to call the motion because you guys have all had a chance to speak. Okay. First of all, I'm very pleased, just to back right up here. I'm very pleased that Dan, you worked on this, and I appreciate that you work with the individual persons and owners and property operators, et cetera. But I'm most pleased at the fact that this council, during the COVID crisis, immediately initiated lots of support for businesses across our community. And the patios was one of them that came up as a result of motions that came from the province of Ontario. And we're quite grateful for that. And our community, our council, our staff really worked very hard to make sure that that was going to happen. And we put it out there. And so whether the measurement was off by 6 inches or whatever, I'm going to forgive that. But the point is that I'm glad that we did make those decisions as a council to support patios and businesses in our community. By the way, it's also very timely that we're having this discussion today, and COVID's in the discussion, that Amanda Murray is sitting here with us, because during the COVID crisis, Amanda and her team of people that work, doing tourism and all of our events immediately pivoted during COVID to create a whole business package. They created those beautiful yellow spots. They created we got all kinds of things for businesses to help them get through and survive. And I'm very grateful to the efforts of our staff that did that and made that initiation put that initiative during the COVID crisis. I'm also very thankful that COVID's frankly over. Now, we all know that we have to be cautious and look after each other, and some people are getting it. So please be careful. And there's a hand sanitizer right here in the room. So if you feel the need to use it, go right ahead. So that's what I want to say about that. The other thing I want to say, though, is that this discussion and a point brought up earlier about how we make decisions. I have heard about these patios since we passed them in the first place. And I want you to know the one that I heard the most about hasn't even been mentioned here tonight. And that has to do with the pub, because the pub had little tables set out on the street and frankly had just little rope, to separate the vehicular traffic from the people. And that was what I heard a lot about. Like I heard a lot of people very, very concerned about that. I heard about it from a truck driver who works for Creemore Springs Brewery himself. And it's like, because he's witnessed people getting really close to it. And let's be honest, accidents happen. We all know that. But it was a difficult one. However, council and our staff supported that business to have a patio, and it was successful for them in the interim while they did it. And so we're happy that we're able to help. Kind of glad that we're not dealing with that anymore. We got to make sure that we have something that's actually secure and safe and creates an actual barrier that people see, physically see, can see, lighting, etc. And all those things are really important when it comes to patios and you're entering into the traveled portion of the road, whether it be on a on a parking space or on the actual travel portion. So all that, we're there. I'm really glad that we're having this discussion. Thank you, Councillor MacArthur, for bringing it up. And I apologize. It appears that your motion's being obliterated, but we're getting there as a council to work together. And so that's important to me. I also want to acknowledge, my earlier comments tonight, I do not want anybody to think that I'm being, aggressive or mean or anything, because I have to work with people from all over this township. Most of all, development community, who can be really, really frustrating to work with. And we'll hear more about that later on. But, I really want you to know that our whole council looks after Clearview Township and hears from the people of Clearview Township. That's who we are. That's why we're up here. By the way, there's been an awful lot of talk about the survey. And so thank you, Sarah, for providing it to members of council. And just before this meeting, just 5 minutes before the meeting, I sat down and pulled all of the comments off of here as to why there should be no patios in Clearview. And there was actually 3 pages of comments from the survey, directly from the survey, that talked about they shouldn't be there. But here's one that I saw pop up, and I'm not going to make an amendment, but I'm just going to put it out there. It said, put them out after 5 p.m. And basically what that meant to me, put them out after 5 p.m. That said to me, well, if business wants to use public land, we can give them permission to do it. And when the business isn't open, they can take it out. Now, that logistically for a business would be really complicated and would, probably require some tools and some staff to be involved. And it's not a reasonable ideal, but it's not so different than a lot of businesses that have very wide sidewalks who set up their outside sidewalk display for their clothing stores or whatever. They set it out, and at the end of the night, they put it back in. Happens all the time. Fruit markets in Kensington Market, same idea. I get it. But for these type of patios, it's not a reasonable recommendation. But I think it's something that we need to consider on the fact that how businesses operate using public space. The other point that came out of this survey was that it was a question about the liability. To be fair to the citizens of Clearview, this council and this administration took a great deal of liability by even permitting them in the first place. And through our staff, through our CAO, through our insurer, we were able to actually activate them and make them come to life. So that's why we did that. I thought it was interesting in some of the survey answers, Sarah, from your report that talked about people really concerned about the taxpayers of Clearview are on the hook if there was an accident there. Here's some reality for everybody to understand. Clearview Township's always going to be on the hook because it's our land. It is. It's the municipality's property. But we're always going to be on the hook, and we're always going to have insurance on it. We make an arrangement and an agreement through a policy through the private business owner to use public lands for these type of purposes. So that's why they have to provide insurance as the business owner. And that's why we as a municipality provide insurance to provide liability for our exposure as well. So this is an agreement. We're working with business people, business community to try to make this work. And the other thing I found interesting on here was that what was the last? I mean, honestly, I put a whole lot of yellow marks on here. It's fine. I'm just trying to be brief. Here's the other one. Most time Creemore is a ghost town, except for when events are going on. Well, I'll tell you what, in the summertime, I disagree with that. Summertime, the place is hopping. Creemore is always busy. Clearview Township has things going on year round. But in the summertime, for sure, Creemore is very much a destination. It's well recognized and well acknowledged, and Clearview Township is proud to have Creemore as part of it. But the point that was being made by that, I believe, was that businesses, all businesses have to have a balance of local customers and visiting customers. Every business, whether you're a milk store or a restaurant or you sell widgets, you have to have a mix of local customers. And that's business. We all know that. That's a simple business thing. So I think that I would encourage the BIA, I would encourage business owners in Creemore to really consider that the business in your community should have reflective of businesses and people, or the people around our community who use the facilities and use the services. So I'm really glad to see that the new president of the BIA has been really keen. She made a nice presentation. So that was great. Council, on the referral, I'm prepared to call this, and I will be more than happy to work with whatever the decision is of council. Madam Clerk, one more time, please read it. Way I can get a drink of water.
Thank you, Worship. For you to council, moved by Councillor Broderick, seconded by Councillor Deneen. Be it resolved that the on-street sidewalk patio policy and guidelines be referred to staff to review the policy regarding the following items: accessibility and AODA compliance, safety of pedestrians, workers, and traffic, and that a report be brought back to council in fall 2023, outlining how these items can be better addressed in the policy and identify any proposed amendments, and that the current policy remain in place until further review.
Council, any further questions? I'm prepared to call the motion on the deferral. All those in favor? Those opposed? And the deferral will carry. Thank you very much, members of council, for participating. And we look forward to working with the staff through the summer months to hear what the staff have to say, as well as council. You can obviously listen to what the public have to say. All right. Again, quick commentary. Thank you, members of council, for your work on this. And thank you for the comments that we've received from the public. I'm taking a breath. Does anybody else want anything? I'm going to call a recess for 5 minutes. Council will resume at 8:15.